The locksmith looked confused when I showed him the deed to my own house, while my sister laughed from inside. I'm Sarah Morrison, 34, and this is the story of how I finally stood up to my family's golden child. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. For years, I'd been the disappointing younger sister, the one who supposedly couldn't manage her own life, while my sister Rebecca sat on corporate boards and flaunted her success. But when I discovered her living in my $450,000 investment property without permission, claiming our parents gave her the right, something inside me finally snapped. What followed was a boardroom confrontation that changed everything. This is that story. Growing up as the Morrison family's younger daughter meant accepting certain truths. Rebecca, 5 years my senior, was the star. Valedictorian, MBA from Wharton, married to a surgeon by 28. I was the afterthought who went to state school and played with houses, as my mother liked to describe my property management career. Every family gathering followed the same script. Rebecca would sweep in with stories about her board positions and charity galas, while I'd help Mom in the kitchen, listening to updates about Rebecca's latest accomplishments. Did you hear Rebecca just got appointed to the Meridian Property Group board? Mom had gushed last Thanksgiving. 50,000 a year just for attending monthly meetings, isn't that wonderful? I'd smiled and passed the gravy, not mentioning that my property management company had just signed its 15th commercial client. Or that I'd closed on my third investment property that morning, a 4-bedroom colonial in Denver's Highland neighborhood that would rent for $3,800 a month. The truth was, I'd learned early that success meant different things in the Morrison household. Rebecca's success was meant to be celebrated, photographed, posted on Facebook. Mine was better kept quiet, filed away with tax returns and LLC documents that my family never asked to see. Sarah's doing fine, my father would tell his golf buddies when asked about both daughters. She handles some rental properties. Nothing like Rebecca's corporate work, of course. They never asked how many properties, never wondered how a property handler afforded a new Tesla or took 2-week vacations to Europe. It was easier for everyone if I stayed in my assigned role, the supportive younger sister who hadn't quite figured life out yet. But that narrative was about to change, though I didn't know it yet. What my family didn't know could fill a portfolio, literally. Morrison Property Management, LLC, wasn't just handling rentals. By early 2024, I managed 47 residential properties and 8 commercial spaces across the Denver metro area. My team of 15 included 3 property managers, 2 maintenance coordinators, an accountant, and a full administrative staff. The business generated $2.3 million in gross revenue last year. My personal real estate portfolio, separate from the management company, included 3 investment properties valued at over $1.4 million combined. The Highland Colonial was my latest acquisition, purchased in cash after a particularly profitable quarter. I'd built this quietly, methodically, without fanfare. No LinkedIn updates, no Facebook celebrations, no casual mentions at family dinners. Why? Because I'd learned that in my family, my success somehow diminished Rebecca's shine. The one time I'd mentioned landing a major client, my mother had immediately pivoted to Rebecca's recent promotion, as if my achievement needed to be balanced out, neutralized. My assistant, Jennifer, often asked why I didn't have any family photos in my office. "They must be so proud of what you've built," she'd said once, gesturing at our suite on the 16th floor of the Riverside Tower. I'd changed the subject, but the truth was more complex than simple estrangement. I loved my family. I just loved myself enough to succeed without their validation. The secrecy wasn't shame, it was self-preservation. Every contract signed, every property acquired, every milestone reached belonged entirely to me, untainted by their dismissive comments or Rebecca's need to compete. Still, I sometimes wondered what would happen if they knew. Would they finally see me? Or would they find new ways to explain why Rebecca's corporate board seat still mattered more than an empire built from scratch? I was about to find out. The property at 4847 Meridian Way, represented everything I'd worked toward. A 3,200 square foot contemporary home in Denver's Hilltop neighborhood, purchased for $450,000 in January 2024, below market due to the seller's urgent relocation. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, mountain views from the master suite, and a location that commanded $4,500 monthly rent. I'd closed on it January 15th, planning a February 1st rental start after minor updates. The numbers were perfect. Even with property management fees, maintenance reserves, and taxes, I'd net $20,800 monthly. The 12-month lease was already signed with a tech executive relocating from Seattle, deposit paid, move-in scheduled for March 1st after the renovations. The renovation plan was modest but strategic: new fixtures, fresh paint in neutral tones, and a smart home security system from ADT that I'd specifically requested. The system included cameras at all entrances, motion sensors, and remote monitoring through my phone. Top of the line, the installer had promised. You'll know if anyone so much as steps on the porch. I'd furnished the paperwork meticulously. The deed was filed with Denver County, property insurance through State Farm was active, and I'd even set up a separate LLC, Morrison Holdings, specifically for this investment to maintain clean accounting. The house sat empty now, waiting for the painting crew scheduled for next week. I'd driven by it twice since closing, admiring the mature oak trees and imagining the passive income flowing into my accounts. This property would push my annual rental income over $400,000, a milestone that felt both surreal and entirely earned. My phone calendar showed tomorrow's appointment. Property walkthrough with maintenance team, 2 p.m. A routine check before renovations began. I had no idea I was about to walk into the surprise of my life. February 10th arrived gray and cold. I met my maintenance coordinator, Tom, at the Meridian Way property at 2 p.m. sharp. He'd brought his renovation checklist and measuring tape, ready to finalize the paint order and fixture selections. Beautiful place, Tom said, surveying the exterior. That Seattle executive's getting a deal at $4,500. I pulled out my keys, purchased from the title company with the official Coldwell Banker keychain still attached. Let's start with the main floor. I want to confirm the paint colors in natural light before we... I stopped. The front door was already unlocked. Did you send someone earlier? I asked Tom, though I knew he hadn't. The work order was clear. No one was scheduled until next week. No, ma'am. First time here since you hired me. My hand hesitated on the doorknob. The ADT system should have alerted me to any entry. I pulled out my phone, opening the security app. The system showed disarmed as of February 3rd, 4:47 p.m., a week ago, while I was in meetings all day. Strange. Only 3 people had the code: me, Tom, who'd just arrived, and the ADT installer for testing purposes. The installer had left the state after finishing the job on January 30th. I pushed open the door, and the smell hit me first. Coffee, something frying, and... was that lavender laundry detergent? The sounds came next. A television playing cartoons, children laughing, footsteps upstairs. Tom and I exchanged glances. Someone was living in my investment property. My mind raced through possibilities: squatters, a rental scam, mistaken address. But nothing prepared me for what I saw when I stepped into the living room. Because the person who emerged from my kitchen, coffee mug in hand and smile on her face, was the last person I expected. "Sarah," Rebecca chirped, taking a casual sip from her coffee, my coffee in my house. "What are you doing here?" Behind her, 3 children raced through the hallway, her kids, aged 12, 9, and 7. Their toys were scattered across the hardwood floors I'd just had refinished. The contemporary furniture I'd seen in the staging photos had been pushed aside for Rebecca's oversized sectional and entertainment center. "What am I doing here?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Rebecca, this is my house. What are you doing here?" She laughed, actually laughed, setting down the mug on the granite counter without a coaster. "Your house? Don't be dramatic. Mom and Dad said we could use the family investment property while our kitchen's being renovated. They gave me the security code and everything." Family investment property? Tom shifted uncomfortably beside me, clearly sensing the tension. There is no family investment property, I said slowly. I bought this house. With my money. My name is on the deed. Rebecca rolled her eyes, the same expression she'd perfected at 14 when I'd asked to borrow her clothes. Sarah, please. We all know Mom and Dad helped you buy this place. They told me about their investment, how they're letting you manage it to give you some experience. It's sweet, really. My hands clenched. They didn't give me a penny. Sure, Rebecca smirked. Look, if you have a problem with us staying here for a few weeks, take it up with Mom and Dad. Or, her smile widened, go ahead and call the police. I'm sure they'd love to sort out a family dispute over a house that's clearly a parental investment. The casualness of her dismissal, the complete certainty that she belonged here more than I did, ignited something deep in my chest. Rebecca's mockery didn't stop there. She walked past me to the front window, pulling back the curtains I'd selected just weeks ago. Oh, look, Mrs. Patterson from next door. She's been so sweet, bringing us cookies, welcoming us to the neighborhood. She tapped on the glass, waving. I told her all about how our parents bought this place as a family investment. She thinks it's wonderful how they're helping both their daughters. Even said she might use the same strategy for her kids. My face burned. Tom cleared his throat. Mrs. Morrison, should I come back another time? No, I said firmly. We're doing the walkthrough as scheduled. Rebecca laughed again, that tinkling sound that had charmed everyone since childhood. A walkthrough? Sarah, you're taking this property manager roleplay too seriously. I told the neighbors you're helping out with the maintenance. They think it's adorable. The landlord wannabe little sister trying to learn the business from her successful family. Landlord wannabe. The words hit exactly where she'd aimed them. Rebecca, I started, but she was already calling up the stairs. Kids, Aunt Sarah's here to check if we need any repairs. She turned back to me with mock concern. The master bathroom faucet is dripping, by the way. Since you're playing property manager, could you handle that? Through the window, I saw Mrs. Patterson watching from her garden, probably wondering about the commotion. Another neighbor walked by with their dog, glancing curiously at Tom's maintenance van in the driveway. They all thought Rebecca belonged here, that this was her family's house, graciously shared, that I was just the help. I'll handle it, I said quietly. I'll handle everything. Rebecca missed the edge in my voice, too busy texting on her phone, but Tom caught it, raising an eyebrow in question. Something had shifted, and we both knew it. I walked through my own house like a detective at a crime scene. Rebecca's belongings had colonized every room. Her Peloton in the den, her children's Xbox connected to the living room TV, her KitchenAid mixer on my counter. 7 days. They'd been here 7 days, and transformed my investment into their personal playground. The lease starts March 1st, Tom whispered, following me with his clipboard forgotten. The Seattle client. I know, I said, photographing everything with my phone. The scratches on the hardwood from furniture dragged without pads. The red Kool-Aid stain on the carpet I'd had professionally cleaned. The hole in the drywall where someone had mounted a TV bracket. Wrong size, wrong placement, wrong everything. Rebecca floated behind us, narrating like a tour guide. We're thinking of staying through March, actually. Mom said it's fine. Our renovation might take longer than expected. March. My tenant would arrive to find squatters with a family resemblance. That's when something inside me shifted. A tectonic plate finally giving way after years of pressure. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. Completely, crystallinely done. Tom, I said calmly, document everything. Every modification, every damage, every item that isn't supposed to be here. Sarah, you're being ridiculous. And Rebecca? I turned to face my sister, really looking at her for the first time in years. Not the golden child, not Mom's favorite, not the board member. Just a woman who'd mistaken my kindness for weakness once too often. You're right. I should call the police. So I will. The smirk finally faltered. You wouldn't. Watch me. I pulled out my phone, and for the first time in our lives, Rebecca took a step back. You have 1 hour to explain to me why I shouldn't dial 911 right now. But I was already walking toward the door, my decision made. I sat in my car outside the house, Tom in his van behind me, and made 3 calls that would change everything. First, Marcus Coleman, my real estate attorney. Marcus, I need you to pull every document for 48847 Meridian Way. Deed, title insurance, closing documents, everything. And I need a formal eviction notice drafted within the hour. Eviction? But the property's supposed to be vacant. Not anymore. Can you meet me at your office in 30 minutes? Second call, ADT Security. After verifying my identity through 3 security questions, they pulled the access logs. The system was disarmed on February 3rd at 4:47 p.m. using the secondary code, the representative confirmed. The one you designated for emergency access. Would you like me to change all codes immediately? Yes. And email me the complete access history. Third call was the hardest. I opened my property management software, looking at the Seattle executive's signed lease, Robert Hutchinson moving his family for a Microsoft position, deposit paid, first month's rent paid, scheduled move-in in 18 days. Mr. Hutchinson, this is Sarah Morrison from Morrison Property Management. I'm calling about your lease at Meridian Way. No, everything's fine. I just wanted to confirm you have all your documentation in order. His relief was audible. Absolutely, we're so excited. The kids have already picked out their rooms from the photos. Perfect. See you March 1st. Tom knocked on my window. Boss, I photographed everything. The damage is probably $3,000 minimum. I nodded, my mind already 3 steps ahead. Rebecca thought she was dealing with the old Sarah, the one who avoided conflict, who let things slide, who accepted her place. But that Sarah had been slowly building something else, leverage, and my sister had just given me the perfect opportunity to use it. The March 15th Meridian board meeting was in 5 weeks. Rebecca never missed it, neither would I. Before I tell you what happened next, if you're dealing with family members who take advantage of your kindness, drop a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because what my sister did next will shock you. And if you think Rebecca crossed a line, wait until you hear what my parents said when they found out. My phone rang at 7 p.m. that night. Mom. I'd been expecting this call since leaving Rebecca's, my house, 3 hours ago. Sarah Elizabeth Morrison. The full name, I was in trouble. What is this nonsense about you threatening to call the police on your sister? I put her on speaker while organizing the documents Marcus had prepared. It's not nonsense, Mom. She's trespassing in my house. Your house? Dad's voice joined. They were tag-teaming me. Sarah, we know we helped you with that investment. Don't you think this fiction has gone far enough? What fiction? What help? I kept my voice level, professional. I have the closing documents right here. Purchased January 15th, 2024. By Morrison Holdings, LLC, my company, my money. Don't be ridiculous, Mom snapped. Where would you get $450,000? From my business, the one I've been running for 8 years. Silence. Then Dad, carefully. Your little rental thing? My little rental thing manages 47 properties and employs 15 people. Another silence, longer this time. But instead of congratulations or even surprise, Mom pivoted. Regardless, family helps family. Rebecca needs a place while her kitchen is renovated. You have an empty house. It's only right. I have a tenant moving in March 1st. A signed lease, a legal obligation. Then tell them to wait, Dad said, as if rescheduling a dental appointment. Family comes first, Sarah. Don't be selfish. Selfish. The word they'd weaponized my entire life. Selfish for wanting my own birthday party instead of sharing Rebecca's. Selfish for applying to out-of-state colleges. Selfish for not dropping everything whenever Rebecca needed something. The tenant has a legal lease, I repeated, and Rebecca has no legal right to that property. We'll see about that, Mom said coldly. Rebecca says she's staying. If you have a problem with that, You'll have to be the one to destroy this family. The line went dead. Rebecca's Instagram post appeared at 9 p.m. A photo of her 3 kids playing in the Meridian Way backyard, sunset golden behind them. The caption read, "Blessed to have family who shares their success. The kids love our new temporary home while our kitchen gets its makeover. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for making this happen." Family first. Blessed. Denver living. She'd tagged the location, Morrison Family Investments. Within minutes, the likes poured in. Her Meridian Property Group colleagues, her charity committee friends, our mutual acquaintances from high school. The comments were worse. "So gorgeous! Your parents are amazing! Family goals! Love how you all support each other! Is this near the Meridian offices? Perfect for your commute!" That last comment from James Whitfield, CEO of Meridian Property Group, Rebecca's boss, the man who'd approved her board appointment. Rebecca replied to his comment, "Yes, 5 minutes from the office. Mom and Dad really thought of everything when they invested here. Real estate runs in the family." My phone buzzed. Tom had sent screenshots of neighborhood Facebook groups. Rebecca had joined them, introducing herself as the new temporary resident at the Morrison family property on Meridian Way. She'd already volunteered to host the next book club meeting. Another notification: Rebecca had created a Facebook event. Morrison Family Housewarming, February 24th. 60 people invited, including several Meridian board members. She was digging in, establishing herself, creating a narrative that would be harder to undo the longer it existed. Every post, every interaction, every neighbor she charmed added another layer to her fabrication. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd tagged the location with a name that didn't exist legally. And she'd involved her employer. I opened my laptop and began composing an email to Marcus Coleman. Subject line: trademark infringement and fraud documentation needed. Rebecca wanted to play this publicly? Fine. But she'd chosen the wrong arena. February 20th brought an unexpected email to my Morrison Property Management inbox. The sender: Meridian Property Group Executive Assistant. Dear Ms. Morrison, as a valued property management partner, we're pleased to invite you to attend our March 15th quarterly board meeting as a guest presenter. The board has requested updates from key vendors regarding our residential portfolio performance. Your presentation slot is scheduled for 2:15 p.m. Please confirm your attendance by February 25th. Best regards, Patricia Wells, Executive Assistant to the board. I read it 3 times. Morrison Property Management did manage 12 properties for Meridian's residential division, a contract Rebecca didn't even know existed. We'd operated under a subsidiary name, Riverside Management Associates, to maintain independence. But the parent company documentation all led back to me. The agenda attachment made my pulse quicken. The 2:00 p.m. slot, Q1 Property Portfolio Review, Rebecca Morrison Hayes, board member. My slot immediately followed hers. This wasn't coincidence. Patricia Wells had been my contact at Meridian for 2 years. She knew exactly who I was, what I owned, and, most importantly, she'd seen the property records for 4847 Meridian Way when I'd submitted it for potential corporate rental consideration last month. I pulled up the board meeting attendee list. 12 board members, including Rebecca. 3 guest executives. The presentations would be in Conference Room A, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Denver, the one where major announcements were made, the one Rebecca had posted about breathlessly when she first got appointed. Her professional pinnacle, her power center, her favorite stage. I confirmed my attendance immediately, then forwarded the invitation to Marcus Coleman with a note. Please have all documentation for 4847 Meridian Way ready by March 14th. Certified copies. The same day, I noticed Rebecca had stopped returning my texts about moving out. She thought silence was power. She was about to learn otherwise. March 14th, 8 p.m. Marcus Coleman's conference room looked like a war room. Documents spread across the mahogany table, each one a weapon waiting to be deployed. Walk me through it one more time, I said, checking my phone. Robert Hutchinson had texted twice about tomorrow's move-in. Marcus adjusted his glasses. Original deed, filed January 16th. Title insurance policy confirming sole ownership by Morrison Holdings, LLC. Articles of incorporation showing you as the sole member. Bank statements showing the wire transfer from your business account. No other parties involved. The security footage? ADT provided everything. February 3rd, 4:47 p.m. Rebecca enters using the emergency code. No permission documented, no rental agreement, no family ownership papers because they don't exist. The damages? Tom's assessment came in at $4,200. Photos time-stamped and notarized. The hole in the wall alone is $800. It compromised the electrical wiring. I picked up the final document. And this? And formal eviction notice filed with Denver County Court on February 11th. She was served February 12th, signed for it herself, actually. Her 30 days are up tomorrow. The same day as the board meeting, Marcus smiled grimly. I also pulled something interesting. Meridian Property Group's Ethics Policy, Section 4.3. Board members must disclose any conflicts of interest, including personal use of vendor properties or misrepresentation of corporate assets. My phone buzzed. Rebecca finally breaking her silence. Sarah, stop being dramatic. I'm hosting a dinner party tomorrow night for the board members. You're welcome to come if you apologize. I screenshotted the message, adding it to my folder labeled Evidence. One more thing, Marcus said, sliding a folder across the table. Patricia Wells from Meridian sent this over. Apparently, they've been documenting some inconsistencies in Rebecca's expense reports. They were waiting for concrete proof of character issues. Tomorrow would deliver that proof and more. March 15th, 1:45 p.m. The Meridian Property Group building stretched 30 floors into the Denver skyline, all glass and steel ambition. I walked through the lobby in my best suit, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, the one I wore for million-dollar closings. Ms. Morrison! The security guard, William, smiled warmly. Haven't seen you in a while. Here for the vendor meeting? Board meeting today, actually. His eyebrows rose. Moving up in the world, your sister must be proud. We'll see. The executive elevator required a special access code, which Patricia had provided. As it climbed toward the 28th floor, I reviewed my materials one final time. Every document was in order, uploaded to my tablet and backed up on USB drives. My phone showed 17 missed calls from Rebecca, starting from an hour ago when Robert Hutchinson had arrived at Meridian Way with a moving truck and a sheriff's deputy to enforce the eviction. Her dinner party plans were crumbling in real time. The elevator opened to the executive floor. Conference room A was already filling up. Board members in $1,000 suits, assistants with tablets, the quiet murmur of power and money. Through the glass walls, I could see Rebecca at the presentation podium, clicking through her slides, oblivious to the storm about to break. Patricia Wells appeared at my elbow. Sarah, your materials are loaded on the secondary presentation system. When you're ready, just click Advance. Patricia, why did you really invite me today? She glanced at Rebecca through the glass. Let's just say the board has questions about some recent property claims. Your presentation might provide clarity. I took my seat in this back row, just another vendor waiting my turn. Rebecca still hadn't noticed me, too busy charming the board members with her quarterly report. In exactly 15 minutes, that would change. As you can see from slide 12, Rebecca clicked her remote with practiced confidence. Our residential portfolio has exceeded projections by 15% this quarter. This success stems from strategic family investments in key properties. Family investments. She was really going there. In fact, Rebecca continued, her voice carrying that special tone she used when she felt particularly superior, the Morrison family recently acquired a property on Meridian Way, a strategic location that demonstrates our commitment to this neighborhood's growth. James Whitfield leaned forward. Morrison family? Is this a corporate acquisition? A private family investment, Rebecca smiled. My parents have been very strategic about building our real estate empire. We're actually hosting several board members there tonight to celebrate the acquisition. Board members nodded appreciatively. Charles Hammond, the CFO, made a note. Impressive. And this property, it's part of your family's portfolio? Absolutely. 4,000 square feet, currently valued at well over $500,000. My parents trusted me to oversee its use while they're traveling. It's been wonderful having a base so close to our offices. My phone vibrated. A text from Robert Hutchinson. Sheriff is here, your sister is refusing to leave. Should we proceed? I typed back. Proceed. Document everything. Rebecca clicked to her final slide, a photo of the Meridian Way house with her children playing in the yard, the same Instagram photo she'd posted, now presented as a corporate success story. This represents the future of Meridian Property Group, she declared. Family values, strategic investments, and community integration. Applause scattered through the room. Rebecca glowed, soaking in the validation. She'd just claimed my property in front of 12 witnesses, on record, in the most official venue possible. Patricia Wells stood. Thank you, Rebecca. Now, our next presenter has some relevant portfolio updates. Sarah Morrison, Morrison Property Management. Rebecca's head snapped toward me so fast I heard her neck crack. I stood slowly, gathering my materials with deliberate calm. Rebecca's face cycled through emotions, shock, confusion, then a forced smile as she tried to process my presence. I'm sorry, she said loudly, still standing at the podium. There must be some mistake. This is a board meeting, not a vendor presentation. Ms. Morrison is presenting our quarterly vendor report, Patricia said smoothly, as requested by Mr. Whitfield. James Whitfield nodded. Morrison Property Management handles 12 of our residential units. Best performance metrics we've seen. Sarah, please take the podium. Rebecca didn't move. This is my sister. She helps with some rentals. 12 properties generating $360,000 in annual revenue for Meridian, I said, walking forward. But you're right, Rebecca. There has been a mistake. The room's attention sharpened. These were people who'd built careers on reading subtext, and they sensed blood in the water. Perhaps we should let Sarah present, Charles Hammond suggested. Rebecca, please take your seat. Rebecca reluctantly moved aside, but not far. She stood just off the podium, arms crossed, clearly planning to interrupt if needed. I connected my tablet to the presentation system. The first slide appeared: Morrison Property Management, Portfolio Review, and Urgent Disclosure. Before we discuss the quarterly metrics, I began, my voice steady, I need to address a significant conflict of interest regarding property at 4847 Meridian Way. Rebecca's sharp intake of breath was audible. Several board members leaned forward. The property Ms. Morrison Hayes just presented as a Morrison family investment is actually, I clicked to the next slide showing the deed, solely owned by Smorrison Holdings, LLC. That's my company. Purchased January 15th, 2024, with no family involvement. The room went silent. Rebecca's face had gone pale, her hand gripping the podium's edge. That's impossible, she whispered. But I was just getting started. There's been a misunderstanding about ownership, I continued, clicking to the next slide. The deed filled the screen, every legal detail highlighted. This property was purchased entirely through my company funds. Here's the wire transfer record: $450,000 from Morrison Property Management's business account. James Whitfield's expression had shifted from polite interest to sharp attention. Ms. Morrison Hayes, you stated this was your parents' investment? Rebecca found her voice. It is. They told me. Sarah's just confused about the paperwork. Family investments sometimes get structured creatively for tax purposes. Actually, I pulled up the next document. I have a signed affidavit from our parents, Robert and Linda Morrison, obtained yesterday, stating they have no financial interest in this property. Marcus had been thorough. They confirmed they've never contributed to any of my real estate purchases. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Charles Hammond was reviewing something on his tablet, likely pulling up Rebecca's earlier presentation. Furthermore, I continued, Ms. Morrison Hayes has been residing in this property without permission since February 3rd. Click. The ADT security footage appeared. Date and timestamp clear. She entered using an emergency code and has refused to vacate despite being served with a formal eviction notice on February 12th. This is ridiculous! Rebecca stepped forward. Sarah, stop this immediately. We can discuss family matters privately. Is that why you told the neighbors I was the property manager wannabe? I asked calmly. Or why you posted on Instagram that this was Morrison Family Investments property? Patricia Wells stood. Mr. Whitfield, perhaps we should review the ethics policy regarding misrepresentation of assets. Rebecca's phone began buzzing incessantly. I knew why. The sheriff was currently removing her belongings from my property. Her dinner party guests would be arriving to chaos. There's more, I said quietly, and the room fell silent again. If you've ever had someone take credit for your hard work, you know exactly how this feels. Comment below with your story. I read every single one, and if you want to know how the board reacted when they learned the truth about Rebecca's other claims, make sure you're subscribed. The next 5 minutes changed everything about our family dynamic. I clicked to the next slide, a timeline of events methodically laid out. January 15th, property purchased by Morrison Holdings. January 30th, security system installed. February 1st, lease signed with Robert Hutchinson for March 1st occupancy. Each date appeared with supporting documentation, receipts, contracts, bank statements. February 3rd, unauthorized entry by Rebecca Morrison Hayes. The security footage played again. February 10th, discovery of trespass. February 11th, legal eviction filed. March 15th, today, eviction deadline. James Whitfield's voice was ice. Rebecca, you've been living in a property you don't own? She's my sister. Rebecca's composure finally cracked. Family shares things. This is just Sarah being petty because... Because what? I asked. Because I didn't announce my success at every family dinner? Because I built something without asking permission? I pulled up the next slide. Screenshots of Rebecca's Instagram posts, her neighborhood Facebook group introductions, all claiming ownership. Ms. Morrison Hayes has publicly represented this as her family's property to neighbors, social media followers, and now to this board. Charles Hammond looked up from his tablet. This is fraud. Securities fraud, if she's misrepresented assets to the board. I didn't know. Rebecca's voice pitched higher. My parents told me it was theirs. Then why? I clicked to the final piece of evidence. Did you sign for the eviction notice personally on February 12th? This is your signature, acknowledging receipt of legal documents stating my sole ownership. The room absorbed this in silence. Rebecca's signature was unmistakable. The same flourish she used on board documents. Patricia Wells cleared her throat. Mr. Whitfield, shall we continue with the vendor presentation or address this matter immediately? But James Whitfield was already standing, his face grave. I think we need an emergency executive session, now. Rebecca's phone rang, her husband calling. She declined it, but it rang again immediately. The dinner party guests were probably arriving at an empty house. This is a family misunderstanding. Rebecca's voice cracked as she grabbed for her phone, which wouldn't stop buzzing. Sarah, tell them this is just, we can work this out. We did work it out, I said calmly. Through the legal system, the eviction was completed an hour ago. Rebecca's phone screen lit up with a text from her husband. Where are you? The sheriff is here. Our stuff is on the lawn. She went white. You didn't. Mr. Hutchinson, my legal tenant, took possession at 2 p.m., as scheduled, as contracted. James Whitfield's expression had hardened into something I'd only seen in hostile takeover meetings. Rebecca, you told us your family owned that property. You presented it as an asset example in your official board presentation. That's a material misrepresentation. I thought, my parents said, Rebecca was scrambling, her usual polish crumbling. They implied it was family property. Did they? I pulled up one final document. Because here's the email you sent to Mom on February 2nd, the day before you broke in. Quote, found out Sarah bought a house on Meridian Way. Don't tell her I know. I need somewhere to stay during renovations, and she owes us for all the help we've given her. The board members exchanged glances. This wasn't just fraud, it was premeditated. Charles Hammond stood. Ms. Morrison Hayes, I move for immediate suspension pending ethics review. Second, said another board member immediately. You can't. Rebecca turned to each board member desperately. I've brought in $3 million in investments. My connections. Your connections believed you were trustworthy, Whitfield said coldly. If you'll lie about property ownership to this board, what else have you misrepresented? Patricia Wells was already pulling up documents on her tablet. The expense reports Marcus had mentioned. The other irregularities. Rebecca's kingdom was crumbling in real time, and everyone in the room could see it. James Whitfield pressed the intercom. Patricia, please have security come to conference room A. Security? Rebecca's voice went shrill. James, this is unnecessary. I'm a board member. You're suspended pending review, Charles Hammond corrected. The vote was unanimous. Two security officers appeared, professional, discreet, but their presence changed everything. Rebecca's phone was ringing nonstop now. Her husband, her mother, text after text about the eviction, the arriving dinner guests, the chaos at Meridian Way. Ms. Morrison Hayes, Whitfield's tone was formal now, corporate. We'll need your board materials, your access badge, and your laptop if it contains any Meridian files. This is insane. Rebecca looked at me, tears finally starting. Sarah, how could you do this? How could you humiliate me like this? I didn't do anything, I replied evenly. I simply corrected the record. You're the one who lied to this board, broke into my house, and refused to leave when asked. Patricia Wells spoke up. Mr. Whitfield, there's also the matter of Ms. Morrison Hayes's expense reports, several entries for property development meetings at addresses that match personal shopping centers. The board members' expressions darkened further. This wasn't just about the house anymore. We'll need a full audit, Charles Hammond said. Patricia, freeze all of Ms. Morrison Hayes's corporate accounts immediately. Rebecca's phone buzzed with another text from her husband. Channel 9 news van just pulled up. Someone called them about an illegal eviction. What did you do? She stared at the message in horror. The media. This would go beyond the boardroom. I need to go, Rebecca said desperately. My children. Security will escort you to gather your personal items, Whitfield said. Your corporate access is revoked immediately. The ethics committee will contact you within 72 hours. The security officers stepped forward, waiting. Rebecca had no choice but to comply. As security waited by Rebecca, I clicked to my final slide. There's one more thing the board should know. Rebecca froze at the door. The board members, already shocked, turned back to me. Morrison Property Management doesn't just handle 12 properties for Meridian, I said. We manage 55 properties total across Denver, with a team of 15 employees and annual revenue of $2.3 million. James Whitfield's eyebrows rose. 55? The 12 we manage for Meridian represent our smallest contract. Though we value the relationship immensely, we've maintained a 98% occupancy rate and 94% tenant retention for 3 consecutive years. I clicked again. The screen showed Morrison Property Management's corporate structure, client list, and performance metrics. I founded this company 8 years ago. We're currently the 3rd largest independent property management firm in Denver. 3rd largest? Charles Hammond pulled up something on his phone, verifying. This is accurate. Why didn't we know this? Because I operated under Riverside Management Associates for our Meridian contract, I explained. I wanted to earn your business on merit, not family connections. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Rebecca had used phantom family connections to claim false success. I'd hidden real family connections to build genuine success. Your sister never mentioned your company, Whitfield said slowly, looking at Rebecca. In 3 years on this board, discussing property management vendors, she never once mentioned her sister ran one of our best performing contractors. Rebecca's humiliation was complete. Not only had she stolen from me, lied about it, but she'd also never even known who I really was. The little sister she'd dismissed, patronized, and mocked was more successful than she'd ever imagined. We need to discuss expanding your contract, Charles Hammond said to me. Are you available for a follow-up meeting next week? Rebecca fled the room before I could answer, security trailing behind her. The boardroom erupted the moment Rebecca left. James Whitfield immediately called legal, while Charles Hammond opened an emergency audit file. Patricia Wells was fielding calls. Apparently, word had already spread through the building. Sarah, Whitfield turned to me. We need complete documentation of everything involving the property situation. Can you provide that? My attorney has everything prepared. I handed Patricia a USB drive. Deed, eviction proceedings, security footage, and a full timeline. My phone buzzed. Tom, my maintenance coordinator. News crew is at the house. Your sister is crying on camera claiming illegal eviction. Mr. Hutchinson is showing them the lease and eviction papers. It's a circus. Then Mom. What have you done? Rebecca just called sobbing. The news is at the house. You've destroyed everything. I silenced my phone, focusing on the board. This is a PR nightmare, Charles Hammond muttered. A board member involved in property fraud. Alleged, Whitfield corrected, though his tone suggested he believed it was more than alleged. Patricia, draft a statement. Rebecca Morrison Hayes has taken a voluntary leave of absence for personal matters. Keep it vague. What about her board compensation? Another member asked. Suspended immediately, Whitfield replied. And Sarah, I apologize that you were put in this position. Your professionalism today has been remarkable. Patricia returned from a phone call, her expression grim. The news station wants a statement. They're running the story at 6. Prominent board member accused of squatting in sister's investment property. Rebecca's carefully curated image, the successful board member, the connected professional, the family matriarch, was crumbling publicly. By tomorrow, everyone in Denver's business community would know. We'll need to elect an interim board member, Charles said. Someone with actual property experience. Several board members looked at me speculatively. One crisis at a time, Whitfield said, though he too was looking at me with new interest. I left Meridian's building to find 37 missed calls, 20 from Mom, 10 from Dad, 7 from Rebecca's husband, David. The family group chat was exploding. Cousins, aunts, everyone had seen the news teaser. I called Mom back from my car. How could you? She didn't even say hello. Your sister is devastated. She lost her board position. The news is calling her a squatter. She was a squatter, Mom. She broke into my house and refused to leave. It's family property. It's not. It never was. And you know that, because you signed an affidavit yesterday, confirming you never gave me money for it. Silence. Then, that lawyer tricked us. We didn't know what we were signing. You knew exactly what you were signing, just like you knew Rebecca was lying when she told everyone it was family property. Dad's voice joined. Sarah, you've gone too far. Rebecca's reputation is ruined. Her children are being mocked at school. Fix this. How exactly would I fix her lying to her employer? Her breaking and entering? Her fraud? By keeping it in the family, Mom shrieked. Like normal people do. You don't air family laundry in public. I didn't. Rebecca did when she posted about Morrison Family Investments on Instagram. When she told her board it was family property. When she refused to leave my house. That house should have been Rebecca's anyway, Dad said quietly. She's the eldest, the successful one. There it was, the truth they'd always believed. She's so successful she needed to steal my house? I asked. So successful she committed fraud to impress her colleagues? You're cruel, Mom said. Cruel and selfish. Don't expect us at any more of your events. What events? You've never attended anything of mine anyway. They hung up. But for the first time, their rejection didn't sting. It felt like freedom. By 8 p.m., the story had gone viral. Denver board member caught squatting in sister's luxury home was trending locally. The news segment included footage of Rebecca crying on the lawn, claiming family persecution, while Robert Hutchinson calmly showed reporters his signed lease and the eviction notice with Rebecca's signature. Rebecca's Instagram had gone private, but not before screenshots circulated. Her blessed family investment posts now looked like evidence. The Morrison Family Investments location tag had been deleted, but the internet never forgets. Her colleagues were distancing themselves publicly. 3 board members from other companies unfollowed her. The charity she'd chaired announced she'd stepped down to focus on personal matters. Her husband David's law firm issued a statement that this was a private family matter unrelated to their practice. My phone pinged with LinkedIn notifications. 12 new connection requests from commercial property owners, 3 inquiries about management services. Patricia Wells had messaged privately. Your presentation was masterful. Whitfield wants to discuss a larger contract. But the most interesting message came from an unexpected source, Rebecca's former assistant at a previous job. Hi, Sarah. You don't know me, but I worked for your sister 3 years ago. She took credit for a project I spent months on, then got me fired when I complained to HR. Seeing her finally face consequences is the best thing I've witnessed in years. Thank you for standing up to her. Similar messages trickled in. A contractor she'd stiffed, a neighbor she'd reported for petty violations while violating HOA rules herself, a college roommate she'd stolen from. Rebecca had left a trail of small cruelties, always escaping consequences through charm and connections. Not anymore. By midnight, Hat Morrison Family Investments was a meme, shorthand for lying about assets. Rebecca's carefully built reputation had become a cautionary tale about privilege and deception, and tomorrow was only day 1 of the 72-hour ethics review. March 17th. Rebecca's husband David called, his lawyer voice carefully modulated. Sarah, we need to discuss terms. Terms for what? For making this go away. Rebecca's lost her board position, her reputation is destroyed, and our kids are being bullied. What do you want? I was in my office, reviewing the expanded Meridian contract Patricia had sent over. I want nothing. Rebecca created this situation. She's your sister. Yes, and she broke into my house, damaged my property, and committed fraud. Being family doesn't erase that. David sighed. She's prepared to apologize. Publicly, if necessary. An apology doesn't repair the damaged walls or reimburse me for the emergency eviction costs. How much? I pulled up Tom's final assessment. $4,200 in damages, $3,000 in legal fees, $800 in emergency locksmith and security updates. Total $8,000. $8,000? David's voice tightened. That's extortion. That's documented costs. I have receipts for everything. Fine. What else? A written statement acknowledging I'm the sole owner of the Meridian Way property, posted on her social media, left up for 30 days. That's humiliating. That's accountability. There was a long pause. And then, you'll tell the media this is resolved? I haven't spoken to the media at all. Rebecca's the one who cried on camera. She was upset. She was caught. I kept my voice level. Here are my terms. Full payment within 7 days. The public acknowledgement posted within 24 hours. No contact with my tenants or employees. No mention of Morrison Family Investments ever again. And she stays away from my properties. All of them. All of them? How many do you have? That's not your concern. Do we have a deal? David's defeat was audible. I'll have her sign today. Good. Have her send it through her attorney, not directly to me. Boundaries. Finally. Rebecca's public apology appeared on Instagram and Facebook at noon on March 18th. Marcus had reviewed it first, ensuring it met our requirements. I need to address recent events and correct previous statements I made. The property at 4847 Meridian Way is solely owned by my sister, Sarah Morrison, through her company S. Morrison Holdings, LLC. I had no right to enter or occupy this property. My previous posts suggesting this was a family investment were incorrect. I apologize to Sarah for the misunderstanding and any damage caused. I also apologize to the Meridian Property Group Board for any confusion my statements may have caused. The situation has been resolved privately, and I take full responsibility for my actions. Rebecca Morrison Hayes. She'd CC'd the entire Meridian board on the post link. Within an hour, it had 300 reactions, mostly shock emojis, and surprised comments from people who'd believed her original story. The comments section became a battlefield. Some defended her, claiming everyone makes mistakes. Others were less forgiving, especially those who'd been at the failed dinner party, arriving to find sheriff's deputies and moving trucks. But the most significant response came from Meridian Property Group's official account. We acknowledge Ms. Morrison Hayes' statement. The board is conducting a thorough review of this matter. Translation: she wasn't getting her position back. David PayPal'd the $8,000 that afternoon with a terse note, per agreement. Mom called once, crying, saying I'd ruined Rebecca's life. I didn't answer. Dad texted that I was no longer welcome at Easter dinner. I archived the message without responding. But Jennifer, my assistant, brought me coffee with a smile. The team wanted you to know we're proud of you. Standing up to family is the hardest thing. Tom added, that house is ready for the Hutchinsons. No trace of the previous situation. My business, my real family, understood what this victory had cost. March 25th brought an unexpected call. Rebecca, directly violating our no-contact agreement. Sarah, please don't hang up. I should have, but something in her voice, defeated, exhausted, made me pause. You're not supposed to call me. I know, I need to rent an apartment. Everything requires references now, and with the news story. You want me to be your reference? After everything? No, not exactly. She took a shaky breath. You manage properties. Do you have anything available? I'll pay market rate, security deposit, everything proper. The irony was staggering. Rebecca, who'd broken into my house claiming ownership, now begging to rent from me. I have a 2-bedroom in Aurora, $1,700 a month, credit check and background required. Background check? Sarah, you know my background. I know you committed property fraud. That's exactly why you need a background check. Silence. Then, fair. If you pass the screening, you'll sign a standard lease. No family discounts, no special treatment, 1 late payment, and you get the same notice as any other tenant. I understand. And Rebecca? This doesn't make us okay. This is business. I know, she whispered. I know what I did. Mom and Dad keep saying you overreacted, but I broke into your house. I lied to everyone. I tried to steal from you. It was the first honest thing she'd said in years. Email my property manager, not me, if you want an application. I gave her Jennifer's email. She handles all tenant screening. Sarah, why are you doing this? Because unlike you, I don't believe in kicking people when they're down. But this is a business arrangement, nothing more. I hung up before she could respond. Mom would probably call this generous. Dad would say I was enabling. But this was my boundary. Professional distance, clear terms, no emotional manipulation. Exactly what family should have been all along. June 15th, 3 months since the boardroom confrontation. I stood in my new office, corner suite, 20th floor of the Riverside Tower, overlooking downtown Denver. Morrison Property Management had just signed our largest contract yet. 72 properties for a California investment firm expanding into Colorado. The Meridian contract had expanded too. 30 properties now, with James Whitfield personally overseeing our partnership. You showed more integrity in that boardroom than most people manage in a lifetime, he'd said during negotiations. Rebecca was never mentioned in our meetings. Her name had been quietly scrubbed from Meridian's corporate history, her portrait removed from the board member wall. Patricia told me the ethics review had uncovered more irregularities. Nothing criminal, but enough to ensure she'd never serve on another board. The Hutchinsons had settled beautifully into Meridian Way. Robert sent monthly updates, unnecessary but appreciated, about how much his family loved the house. Best rental we've ever had, his latest email read. The kids loved the backyard. Rebecca had passed the background check. Barely. Jennifer handled everything, keeping me removed from the process. She'd moved into the Aurora apartment in April, paid rent on time, kept quiet. David had taken a position with a firm in Colorado Springs, commuting rather than facing Denver's legal community daily. My parents hadn't called since March, but last week my Aunt Martha had reached out. "I heard what really happened," she'd said. "Your mother's version never made sense. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself." Others followed. Cousins who'd witnessed years of favoritism, family friends who'd noticed the discrepancy between Rebecca's claims and reality. Slowly, a different narrative emerged, not the one my parents promoted, but the truth. My phone buzzed. "Jennifer, the Times wants to interview you for a piece on women in property management." This time, I wouldn't hide my success. "Schedule it," I replied. The Denver Business Journal article came out July 1st. Morrison Property Management, From Shadow to Spotlight. It featured a photo of me in the new office, Denver's skyline behind me, looking every inch the CEO I'd always been. The article detailed the company's growth, our innovative tenant retention programs, our expansion plans. It mentioned, briefly, a family property dispute that led to Morrison's public emergence as a major industry player. Professional, factual, focused on business rather than drama. The response was immediate: 3 acquisition offers from national firms, speaking invitations for property management conferences, a call from the governor's office about joining a housing task force. But the most surprising response came during the July Meridian board meeting, which I attended as a vendor presenter. "Before we begin," James Whitfield announced, "I want to acknowledge something. Sarah Morrison exemplifies the kind of ethical leadership this industry needs. Her handling of a difficult situation, everyone knew what situation, demonstrated integrity, professionalism, and restraint. Meridian is lucky to work with her." The board applauded. Several members approached afterward, sharing their own stories of family members who tried to exploit their success. "You did what many of us wish we could," Charles Hammond admitted. That evening, I found an envelope slipped under my office door. No return address, but I recognized Rebecca's handwriting. Inside, a single paragraph. "Saw the article. You earned every word. I spent so much time trying to be important that I never noticed you already were. The apartment is perfect, by the way. A real home, not a stolen one. R." I filed it away without responding. Some bridges, once burned, were better left as ashes. But acknowledgement, even late, had its own value. My success was no longer hidden. More importantly, I no longer felt the need to hide it. August 15th, 6 months since everything changed. I stood in the Meridian Way house, doing a routine inspection while the Hutchinsons vacationed. The walls Tom had repaired showed no trace of damage. The house felt peaceful, profitable, properly mine. My phone showed a text from Mom, the first in months. "Saw your article. Your father says congratulations." No apology, no acknowledgement of their role in enabling Rebecca's behavior. But also, for once, no dismissal of my success. Progress, perhaps, or simply resignation. Rebecca's rent had arrived that morning, 3 days early, as always now. Jennifer reported she was a model tenant, quiet and respectful. The Aurora property was just business, a professional arrangement that required no emotional investment from me. The family had scattered. Rebecca in Aurora, parents maintaining their distance, me building an empire they'd never imagined. The Morrisons, who'd gathered for holidays, who'd maintained the facade of closeness, were gone. In their place, truth, boundaries, and oddly, peace. You lost your family, a therapist had noted during a session I'd started attending in April. No, I'd corrected. I lost the performance of family. What remained was what had always been true. I was on my own. The only difference is now everyone admits it. Tomorrow, I'd sign papers to purchase 2 more properties. Next month, Morrison Property Management would open a second office in Boulder. By year's end, we'd manage over 100 properties. None of it would be hidden anymore. No more diminishing my success to protect others' egos. No more accepting dismissal to keep an artificial peace. The doorbell rang. Robert Hutchinson, back early from vacation. "Sarah, great to see you. This house has been perfect for us." "I'm glad," I said, meaning it. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is show people exactly where the line is, even when those people are family, especially then. Thank you for watching my story. If you've dealt with family members who couldn't respect your boundaries or success, you're not alone. Please share your experience in the comments. This community has taught me so much about standing strong. Subscribe for more stories about setting boundaries and building success on your own terms. And remember, your achievements belong to you, no matter who tries to claim them. What boundaries do you need to set in your life?